traditionally, somewhere around 6 months, most children are going to move from a 3-nap day to a 2-nap day. And this can bring a lot of turmoil in a lot of different sleep areas. So it may not always be super clear that that is what they need, but if you have a child that's around 6 months old, maybe a little bit before, maybe a little bit later than that, they may be telling you that they need to transition down to 2 naps if they are fighting that 3rd nap, having a really hard time falling asleep at bedtime, or waking up really early in the morning. Hi, I'm Jensine Casey, certified sleep consultant, mama of 3, and certified postpartum doula. And today we're talking all about that transition from 3 naps to 2 naps, because it can be really, really tricky to know what is going on with my child's sleep. So around 6 months is when children's awake windows start to get a little bit longer so they can tolerate more awake time. So under that, between 3 and 6-ish months, children will be able to do about 2 hours of awake time. So each nap is going to come about 2 hours from when they woke up from their previous nap. But now that they can tolerate a little bit longer of an awake window, we're going to have to start to push that awake window a little bit longer to consolidate that sleep in a different way. So if they are having a really hard time falling asleep for that later afternoon nap, if they're having a really hard time falling asleep at bedtime, it's probably because they don't have enough sleep pressure, or if they're waking up early in the morning, also because they don't have enough sleep pressure to carry them through. That is when you're going to want to take a look at your entire schedule and decide if this is the time to do it. So if those 3 things are happening, you may be thinking, yep, checking the boxes, all of these things are happening to us. What do we do now? So in order to go from that 2-hour awake window to that 3-hour awake window, we're not going to be able to just do it in one day. We're going to have to gently push those awake windows. So I always use a 7 to 7 schedule as an example, but you are able to adjust that depending on what your family's schedule is, what your situation is, what your ideal schedule is that you would like to be. And as you're adjusting naps, this is always a great time. If your bedtime and your desired wake time are not where you would like them to be, this is a really great opportunity to be able to make some shifts overall to get them closer to where you would like them to be. So as I was saying, you will need to begin to stretch those awake windows. So if you're traditionally doing two hours of awake time between naps, now you're going to go to about 2 hours and 15 minutes. Then a couple of days later, you're going to go to 2 hours and 30 minutes. So we're gently pushing those awake windows. So we're not just going from short awake window to an additional hour that we're awake. As you're getting closer to like 2 hours and 45 minutes of them being awake, you may feel like you're like pulling out all the stops and you're having to like, let's go to the window, let's have a snack, let's do this, let's have some solids to be able to keep them more awake. And that's okay. It takes about 4 to 6 weeks for children to really be able to make this full adjustment. So if you feel like it's still a little bit of a push to be able to get them to that full 3-hour awake window after you have done the slow transition, that's okay. Their body will adjust, but what you don't want to do is move between 3 naps and 2 naps days, like back-to-back days. So you don't want to one day have a 3-nap day and then the next day push for a 2-nap day, and then the next day have a 2-nap day, and then 2 days later you have 2 3-nap days in a row. That's just going to add some more confusion, and your child's body clock is really not going to know what to expect and not going to know what to aim for. So once you start to make that transition, you're really going to have to be solid in that and continue to make that transition, even if it means an earlier bedtime on some days, to really keep those 2 naps on track. So another thing to remember is that you want to make sure that bedtime is adjusted if you can't make that full 2 naps happen. So instead of having a 3-nap day, your goal would be to have a 2-nap day with an earlier bedtime, but you also don't want that bedtime to come more than half an hour before your typical bedtime routine, because then we're going to get all messed up. You're going to have a super early bedtime, which is still going to lead to a really early morning wake up. So last thing that I want you to remember is as you're making this adjustment, you want to make sure that the amount of sleep is not changing. So after 4 months old, we're going to aim for 3 hours of daytime sleep. Some children may be a little bit more, some children may be a little bit less, but about 3 hours of daytime sleep for naps. So when you're in a 3-nap schedule, it's 3 1-hour naps. When you go to a 2-nap schedule, we're still keeping that 3 hours. It's going to go to 2.5-hour naps. And then once we go to a 1-nap schedule, closer to 15-ish months, that will be 1 3-hour nap. So as you're doing the 2 naps, ideally what we're looking for is 2 1.5-hour naps. 3 hours overall. So it may not be perfect every day. Maybe you have a 2-hour nap in the morning and a 1-hour nap in the afternoon. Maybe it's flopped and you have a 1-hour nap in the morning and a 2-hour nap in the afternoon. As long as ideally your goal is to have 3 hours of daytime sleep during that same day, that is okay, because life happens and we can't always have everything happen perfectly, but I want you to have a plan and the tools to know exactly what to do and what you're expecting so you can know how to fudge things and how to make things up as you go. So if you are in that 3 to 2 nap transition, comment below. It's not always easy, but now after watching this video, you should have some very concrete tools to be able to take forward and help your child nap. So any questions, pop them in the comments. Make sure you subscribe so you get the next videos about what to do once your child is moving from 2 to 1 nap. See you later.